of water going on here?
Yeah, I got my cigarettes.
That definitely helps. Or I guess if you're a smoker, that helps.
It does. For as long as I'm a smoker, it'll help. I don't want to smoke forever. That's bad.
Trying to quit?
No, I'm not trying right now, but I recognize the importance of quitting very soon. I'm almost 30, so if I want to die, I'll keep smoking. But it is now in my head where it's like, okay, my 20s are over, it's time to stop.
Yeah, not trying to be all, like, shaming on you here, but my fiance, her wife, what the fuck am I talking about? I'm thinking so many
kinky
different
over
things
there,
in my
huh?
head. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
It goes
We're
deeper than I thought. You are.
Mormon state.
I respect you.
My wife's mother actually died of secondhand smoke cancer. Like, she got lung cancer, and then it went to her brain, and that was it. And she never smoked. They just worked in a little Chinese store, and all the, let's say, countrified customers would come in there and smoke all day, and she'd breathe it, and that got her. That's bad stuff. So
my grandpa, too. My mom's dad never smoked cigarettes, but died of lung cancer, and my mom's mom chain smoked inside, and, you know, she had 13 kids, and yeah, but I am aware. Let's just say that.
Could be worse though. There are worse habits than that. My little brother, he's an orphan, and he had at one time some bad habits, not drugs and stuff, like anger problems and stuff. But he's been living on his own since he's 16, doing his own bills, like doing his own, like all of his friends do drugs, and his worst habit is he smokes. So I'm really happy about that.
Hell yeah, it's, you know, it probably helps that he has a cool older brother or something, you know.
I manage his money for him. It's kind of funny, like, the government pays me and then I have to pay him. I don't know how that works out.
The government pays you. What do you do for the government?
Oh, I am his, what's the word, trustee, guardian? What's that? Representative payee. So I am not his guardian or parent, but I am the representative payee and I'm responsible for his money. So I make him use a debit card. And that means at the end of the year when the welfare program comes around, or Social Security, whatever, and they want to see what he's been spending it on, well, we've got the whole sort of thing right here. And I look at it, you know, it's teenager stuff like Papa John's, Little Caesars, McDonald's, Subway, Walmart, video games, all the way down.
Yeah, sure.
But he managed his own budget, which is good. Anyway, I think I'll make that the intro to the video, if that's fine with you, and we'll just keep on rolling with this, because the point of this video is to talk about politics. I didn't even introduce this. My name is Drift0r, and I'm here with Hutch today as a guest.
And I know your Drift0r on your channel.
You know, you'd be surprised sometimes, and it always helps that little smidgen of branding. So let's start off with something very familiar that we're all
right, my name is Hutch. I make videos and put them on the internet. All right, we're good.
There we go. All right. Gun laws. Are you pro-gun or anti-gun, and what do you think about concealed carry, assault rifles, all that sort of stuff? I'll just pass it to you here.
Man, get hitting with the heavy stuff right away. I am not pro-gun and I am not anti-gun. I don't think that and if I can explain, I've never wanted to own a gun in my life, and then I got married, and now I want to own a gun, and that just happened. I don't know why it happened, but I will probably purchase a gun and have it like locked in my house somewhere so it's nice and safe. And I have no intention of. I'm not an aggressive person, but I acknowledge that there's aggression in the world. And as ludicrous as the NRA can be sometimes, I actually kind of get the guns don't kill people, people kill. I get that, but at the same time, there are so many gun activists right now that they are not helping. Like people that are walking the streets of Oregon with MP5s just because it's legal. That's not helping, and I will never get behind that. I don't like a culture of violence and just encouraging belligerent violence.
Well, I'm going to turn you on your head here a little bit. I agree with you. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Martin Luther King also, or was it Malcolm X, I can't remember, encourage black activists to march with weapons so that when they were arrested for being aggressive, they could sue the federal government for violating their rights? In that case, I would say that it was kind of a trap. And
well, I believe that it was not Martin Luther King, because Martin Luther King, I believe, was on the same page as Gandhi when it came to nonviolence. nonviolence was
he was big about nonviolence. And it had to be Malcolm X then. I can't remember.
Malcolm X was very militant, and he was and then that was also a time where the Black Panther Party existed too, and I'm not sure if he was an official member of the Black Panther Party, but they treated him like he was a prophet. And he had a very different message from Martin Luther King. His message was, no, this is war. We are being murdered and oppressed, and the only way that you can break that is sometimes through physical violence. Martin Luther King was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he preached total nonviolence.
I believe you're correct about that, and I'm going to try to drag us back to the main topic. I also just recently got married, but I always grew up in really bad neighborhoods, and my mother had a tendency to marry really sketchy people, which brought in even sketchier people. So I've always been a fan of gun ownership my whole life. I've shot guns, I've been shot at, I've never shot at another person, but I always like living with a gun, not because I want to shoot people, not because, I play Call of Duty and then it's fun, but it's a fail-safe. It buys me a means to protect myself because, unless we're driving tanks around the street here, what you're going to run into in any sort of modern combat situation is probably some small arms, some form of pistol, maybe a shotgun, and it kind of puts me on an even playing field and allows me to protect my wife, protect my dog, protect my house. And I'm actually going to be buying more guns soon. I'm going to be getting a concealed carry license here in Texas because as the internet thing grows on and my channel continues to grow, I get more and more people recognizing me on the street. It's not a lot right now, but it's a smidge. And and if I don't, screw this up colossally, that's going to grow. And I get more and more messages like pictures of my house and pictures of my parents' house, and it's concerning. It's not something I ever want to have to do, but I don't want to catch myself in a bad situation with any of the myriad of crazy people out there.
Absolutely, yeah. We're moving. Me and Liz are moving from the spot that we're going to be in as soon as the lease is up, just because I want to live in different places. But I will not be public about where I live the next time I go, because I will just say that in the last 6 months it's just you don't think about it really, and then when the fear hits you, like, oh my God, I'm putting someone I love in danger. You're also propping them up and like showing the world how beautiful they are and how much you love them, but at the same time, it's really, really, really tricky. And when you've lived in a neighborhood where there is violence and gangs, and I've lived in such a neighborhood, like on that street, was the only white person on that street,
then
it puts the fear of God in you. When you are approached by gangbangers that are threatening your life, it puts the fear of God in you. And just knowing that there are people out there that exist is enough for me to say, okay, I don't want to kill anyone, I don't want to hurt anyone, but if anyone fucks with my wife, no way. Okay. No way, no way.
Let's extrapolate this a little bit here and go with a more libertarian point of view. That view would be that there's no thing that the government should restrict access to, and that you, as a free individual, being on an even playing field, or let's skip that part. That's a more social aspect. But that you are equally free as everybody else, and you should be allowed to own anything that you want, regardless of what it is. And this is kind of a philosophy that I agree with on principle. It works rather poorly in real life, but I love the philosophy behind it. That as a free citizen, if you have the money, you can just buy a tank if you want it. How you use it, you're supposed to do so within the laws and the construct of our society, but a lot of people would see that as not a good idea.
Well, libertarians are kind of an interesting bunch because there's so many different types of libertarians. Mm-hmm. There are libertarians that are that err more on the side of anarchism, not total chaos, and I'm talking about the idea of anarchism, which is actually a lot more complicated than...
It'd be more like laissez-faire kind of government, very minimal, Ayn Randian sort of stuff.
I'm not too familiar with Ayn Rand, so I can't comment. In fact, all I've heard about Ayn Rand is secondhand, but I've heard that the writing reflects a like power absolute sees what's yours kind of thing. I've never read Ayn Rand, but libertarians are basically like the easy way to describe a libertarian is that they're anarchist capitalists. Very, very small government and zero regulation on the free market because the free market will regulate itself. I do not agree with that.
Well, I agree with the, how would he say this? The free market will do what it's designed to do, which is make money, and it will, the theory really actually holds true that it will regulate itself. But we're talking like giant macro scale theory and the regulating itself might be that a company buys a town and just kind of slave labors these people until they get mad and kill everybody.
Exactly.
That's, in this theory, that it'll regulate itself. That's valid. That's totally okay. But the reality is that nobody really wants to live that way. That's why we have laws and regulations and these other sort of things going on.
Well, I wouldn't say nobody. I wouldn't say nobody
Yeah.
because there have been famous libertarians and anarchists like Sacco and Vanzetti. Those names are popping into my head. I read it in like Howard Zinn. If you've never read a lot of Howard Zinn, but Sacco and Vanzetti were these two outspoken anarchists that were basically they were executed. They were put on trial and executed. Like, there are people that have existed in this nation's history, and there are people that still exist today that believe that global anarchism is the way to go. And then it goes to it's all on a spectrum. And then there are some people that believe that libertarianism can only exist on a city or a county level. And then there are some people that exist that think that libertarianism can exist throughout the entire United States, which I'm not inclined to agree with, because it just there are so many different cultures. California might as well be a different country than Texas.
That's what I was just about to say. When I do political videos, what I like to stress on my channel, especially for viewers overseas, is that you just do not understand the extreme level of diversity that exists in the United States. And somebody's like, whatever, I live in Berlin. We're diverse here. We have 5 black people and an Arab guy. And I'm like, you don't understand. I was actually in L.A. recently for the COD Championships. I walked 2 blocks down Hollywood Boulevard, which, albeit, is a bit of a freak show. And
that's not the safest neighborhood, by the way.
I know, but I'm comfortable with myself. I'm okay.
Okay, good. You take care of yourself. Good for you. But it's not the best.
Well, I was not alone either. But I walked 2 blocks. In those 2 blocks, I saw almost equal amounts of people of every single race. And I mean every single sort of. There were like, very Orthodox Jews on the street. Then there were Muslims. Then there was this Hindu guy that had his whole thing going on, maybe minus the scimitar, right next to the giant Scientology building with this huge group of Asian tourists taking pictures of stuff, and the white guy in the little weed place trying to sell. And nobody, like, it's that level of diversity, but it's like that all over the country. That might be a little bit more of an extreme example, but the U.S. is very, very diverse, and if you do libertarianism, these groups are going to kind of, like, segregate and compete really, really hard, like in a prison situation.
Sure, yeah. It's like it turns into Lord of the Flies, and it's something that I have conflicts within myself about, because there's appeal to laws and structure and government, and then there are appeals to total freedom. Like there's appeal on both sides, and I think there's a line in the now I sound like a pretentious douche, but there's a line in the Tao Te Ching where it was basically talking about anarchism before the concept had even really been fully fledged. This was thousands of years ago, and they said, you take away crime, there would be no criminals. Take away laws, people would just govern themselves. And the struggle between humans and the governments that are supposed to look out for them is not a new struggle. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years, and it's getting better. I'm optimistic. We are making progress.
I mean, look, I almost went off the deep end. I'm going to cut you off a little bit. Talking about people going at it prison style, I didn't want to that was kind of a bad way to end it. I'm actually impressed that all the different people that live in the United States managed to work together at all. It's interesting, but I kind of like where you're going. I'm going to roll us into a different topic that I've got over here on my little bullet point.